All right, let's get right to it. We're not going to spend time on boring theory today. Nope. Instead, we are literally going to build your personal investment blueprint from the ground up in just the next few minutes.
So let's just kick things off with the big one, the question this whole explainer is designed to answer. If you're looking at the next, say, 50 years of your life, what's the right way to invest?
To get you that answer, we're going to follow a really simple 6-part journey. We'll cover the unbreakable law of investing, the price of higher returns, how to survive the market's wild ride, finance's only free lunch, your personal investing recipe, and finally, the simple 3-fund portfolio. Let's do it.
All right, let's dive right in. Section 1, the unbreakable investing law. Seriously, this is the one rule that governs everything. If you can just get your head around this one single concept, I promise you, you're already way ahead of most people.
It's called the risk-return trade-off, and the idea is just incredibly simple. If you want a shot at higher returns, you have to be willing to take on more risk. That's it. There are no loopholes, no secret handshakes, no exceptions to this rule, period.
So what does that actually look like? Well, it basically frames your choice. On one hand, you've got things like stocks, right? High assumed risk, but also the potential for high returns. And on the other hand, you've got something like a savings account. Super low risk, but because of that, it's got to have low returns. You have to pick a side. You can't have both. And this is the big takeaway, so listen up. Anytime you see someone online, a guru, a TikTok expert, anyone, promising you a high return, low risk investment, it's a lie. 100% of the time. They're either clueless or they're trying to scam you. Smart investing isn't about finding some magical, risk-free secret. It's about understanding and intelligently managing the risk you do take on. Okay, so if we have to take on risk to get returns, what does that actually mean for us as investors? Let's talk about the price of those higher returns and how to separate real danger from just temporary fear. This is maybe the most important distinction you can make. You see, risk and volatility are not the same thing. True risk is the chance you permanently lose your money. Like the company you invested in goes bankrupt and it's gone forever. Volatility? That's just the temporary up and down price swings of the market. They feel scary, but they are not the same as a permanent loss. And this is the key mindset shift. You have to start thinking of volatility as the price of admission. It's like buying a ticket to a theme park. You know you're going to get on some roller coasters with big drops and sharp turns, right? But that's the price you pay to experience the whole park. Those temporary price swings, that's just the fee for accessing the incredible long-term growth of the stock market.
Okay, so let's talk about that wild ride. What does it actually look like? Because there's a huge gap between the average return and what you actually experience year to year. If you look back since 1957, the stock market's average annual return has been about 10.54%. That is a powerful, powerful engine for building wealth. That's what we want. But, and this is a huge but, the market basically never returns its average. The reality is super lumpy and all over the place. I mean, just look at these numbers. You had to stomach a nasty minus 18% year in 2022 just to be around for the amazing plus 26% that came right after it in 2023. That is the risk-return trade-off in real life. If you panic and sell when it's down, you are guaranteed to miss the ride back up. So we have to accept this wild ride. But here's the cool part. There's actually one proven tool that lets you manage that risk, and it's been called finance's only free lunch. And that free lunch is diversification. I mean, it's a famous saying for a reason. Why is it a free lunch? Because it's the only thing you can do that lowers your risk without also lowering your expected returns. It's that simple, age-old advice, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And here's how you do it. It's a 2-step process. First, you diversify across different types of investments, like stocks and bonds. They often zig when the other zags, which helps smooth out the ride. And second, you diversify within each of those types. So you don't just own one stock, you own a whole bunch of US stocks, international stocks, and different kinds of bonds. Okay, this is huge. This brings us to probably the single most important decision you're going to make, creating your personal investing recipe. This is all about you. So how do you figure out your personal mix? Well, there's a really great rule of thumb to get you started. Just take the number 110, subtract your age, and that result, that's roughly the percentage you should have in stocks. Simple as that. The rest, it goes into the safer stuff, bonds.
So if you're, say, 20 years old, that formula, 110 minus 20, tells you that about 90% of your portfolio should be in stocks, with the other 10% in bonds. And this makes perfect sense, right? When you're young, you have decades for your money to grow and recover from any downturns. You can afford to take on that smart risk to really maximize your growth.
But here's the reality, and it's a painful one. The data shows so many young people are making a huge multi-million-dollar mistake. They're holding almost 34% of their money in cash, just sitting there earning nothing, getting eaten by inflation. They're too scared of the volatility, and by playing it too safe, they are literally giving up decades of life-changing compound growth. It's a tragedy.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We know the unbreakable rule, we understand volatility, and we have our personal recipe. Now it's time to actually build the portfolio. And we're going to use a strategy that is simple, powerful, and honestly, pretty elegant.
This is it, the famous three-fund portfolio. The whole thing is built with just 3 core ingredients, 3 super simple, low-cost index funds. You've got one fund that buys you a tiny piece of every stock in the US market, a second one that does the same for the international market, and a third one for US bonds. That's the whole shebang. So simple.
And now we just plug in our 90-10 recipe. Your final blue point is just this. 60% of your money goes into the US stock fund. 30% goes into the international stock fund. See, that's our 90% in stocks. And the last 10% goes into the bond fund. Boom, you're done. You've got a portfolio that is globally diversified, costs almost nothing, and is perfectly designed for long-term success.
Look, this isn't some crazy theory. This portfolio is a proven engine for building real long-term wealth. You now have the complete blueprint. The only question left is, now that you have it, what are you going to build with the next 50 years?